You're listening to The Art of the Horseman, a podcast for equestrians who know that true horsemanship goes far beyond the arena. At the heart of this journey, horses teach us who we truly are, revealing what's possible when we let go of control, lead with love, and allow ourselves to be transformed from the inside out. Around here, horsemanship is lifemanship. And every conversation is a celebration of the ways horses help us grow into who we were meant to be. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I am here today with Katrin Silva, who has a wonderful story she'll be sharing with us about how she started in Germany riding dressage and has now ended up in the United States and New Mexico. And she's applying both the concepts that she learned from dressage as well as riding other disciplines, be it Western pleasure, reining, and applying quality horsemanship to that. And she's together to help horses and students everywhere. So I appreciate you all for being here today and welcome, Katrin.
No, I would just love to know how you came up with this wonderful idea for the online horse fair. That was timely.
Yeah, it was. It actually it kind of happened in a slightly roundabout way where I went to do you know who Karen Rolfe is?
Yeah, I like her a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So my parents in February of 2018 sent me to a seminar that was done by her, and it was how to transform your business and make it the business that you really want. So through that, I became aware of the fact that you can do things online, which I had not really delved into or been aware of, which was kind of silly because I'd done a bunch of health research online, like I'd learn from people online, but just it didn't strike me as horses, would be something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so what ended up happening is I thought I need to get my message out. I need to share more. And we started some online programs and stuff, but really both Jack and I are we're like lifetime learners, and we are always
That's great.
yeah, we're always looking for more. And we've been so inspired by all the people that we've worked with. And we're always, in every avenue of our life, be it nutrition, sports, you're a ultra marathoner, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm an ultra runner. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So,
what I do. Yeah.
with all of that, we're always pulling in information from as many sources as we can. So then through that, the online horse fair kind of was born because it really allows us to get the message out about.
Yeah, and there's all this technology now, and why not use it? I mean, I thought it was a wonderful idea.
And your story is kind of interesting in the respect that, you grew up in Germany, you learned to ride dressage in Germany, and then you came to the United States and you ended up in the Western United States, which is such a different.
Well, I came to the United States because I wanted to learn Western riding. And I grew up riding dressage, and I thought it was the most boring thing in the world. And I wasn't having any fun. And I never thought I really learned to learn the things I wanted to learn. And I thought, well, I was like, this isn't like, I don't want to work this hard, and I don't want to be yelled at, and all those things. I mean, if you've been around dressage, teachers and, these old time instructors, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's like, I don't know how many times as a child I was there like crying on my horse, like, whoa, I've never learned this. And it's just, I just thought this can't be the end all. And then I remember going to this European Championship of Western riding in the early 80s, the first one they had there. And, I'm sure it wasn't that great, but I was just so amazed. I was like, wow, oh my God, this horse is going to loose rein. Oh my God, horses going hackamores. And then it was just so cool. And I was just a teenager. And I was like, I want to do that. And so I hung around there and started talking to people. And I moved to Italy first because they were a little bit ahead of the Western stuff in the 80s, like right after I graduated from high school. I mean, first day, I didn't even wait for the graduation. I was like the day after my last exam, I was on the train to Italy, and I started working for this horse farm there. And I was there for about a year. And then I met a judge who was from the U.S. and how Americans are. They always say, if you're in the area, just come on by. And I took that literally because I'm German, and so I didn't know that you don't mean it that way. And I saved up money for a ticket, and I was like, here I am. So yeah, no, I mean, I didn't just come to the U.S. because I wanted to travel. I mean, I really had a specific agenda.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, dressage just obviously means training, but it's really to get people doing other things with their horses, right?
We know that now. But I mean, it's like, when a lot of people, even now, when they hear dressage and see dressage, they think it's all about those stupid white pants and those stupid blingy brow bands. No, I've got a couple of those too. But I mean, you know what I mean? And everybody is so stuck up, and everybody's like, oh, well, if you want to ride dressage, you have to have a dressage horse, and it'll cost you a gazillion dollars. You can't do dressage on your quarter horse. It's just like, this sounds so wrong. This is just so not me. But, after totally doing without dressage and working for like a succession of Western trainers for a number of years, I finally came back to it when I, went out on my own, and I was like, oh yeah, this is something that does help every horse, and oh, I remember how to do that, and so I started, revisiting that notion and started getting into that again, but yeah, in a very different way.
Yeah, it's interesting because what I would read in books, especially like when you look at like the classical dressage books, what I would
Right.
read in the books and then what I would see in practice were two
Oh my
different
God,
things.
yes.
And so it's like that bothered me really bad. And even as a kid in
Oh,
4-H,
me too.
and the same thing, I was crying. I was like in 4-H, like 10 years old. And I was trying to do some looser rein things, but I still wanted the lesson. And it was like, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't, this isn't what they're talking about in books. And then later on, as I met the right people and started seeing, other dressage clinics and things like that, I started realizing, okay, so there is a section of dressage people that are based on softness and lightness and that type of thing. But
Yeah,
yes,
and that aren't discriminating against
yeah,
horse breeds, and that aren't, just like turning up their noses on anything that doesn't look like it's imported. Yeah, that's always really bothered me too, because I mean, I work with all horses, and I feel like that's my job, right? I'm a trainer, so it's like if I I see a horse in the right, I'm like, okay, how can I make this work out better? And I do whatever is in my power to do that, instead of saying, oh well, you shouldn't even be here. It's like, oh, you need to get a different horse. I mean, that's
right.
that bothers me too.
Right. I
And
know I had a experience. So I was at a 4-H show and I'm riding my Morgan mare, I'm real young,
I
you
love
know,
Morgans.
and and the the gal that was judging was a dressage lady, but she was judging the 4-H show, and she told me, "I will never make it on my horse." They come through the line and they tell you things. "I'll never make
Yes,
it on
yes.
my horse because my horse isn't nice enough. She doesn't track well enough." And she gave me kind of a whole litany of things.
Were you
So
crushed?
I know as a youth, it's like, well, this is what I have. I don't,
Right?
this is and I love her.
And isn't that what dressage is supposed to do? It's like you make the horse use, their
Ex-
body better, and all those things. I mean, I showed Morgans for years, and there were some really lovely people in that world. And I had a Morgan mare that I took to like second, third level, and she was amazing. She was like 14 hands and this tiny pony, but we did okay. But I mean, no, how can you say, oh, this horse is good enough? I mean, you ride what you've got, right?
right,
Right.
exactly. And that kind of goes back to your question about Paula and the fair. She has the motto, better people, better horses, better world.
Yeah, that's
And
that's wonderful.
and the idea is we all love horses. So why are we always looking at what clothes you wear, what breed you're on, what discipline you ride? Why don't we just start learning about horses together? And we all in the end we want harmony and we want to be able to ride our horses wherever we want. We want to be able to do what we want to do. So we all have the same
You
goals. So that
happy
we want
horses,
happy
right?
horses.
Happy
Yeah, not
things.
this sort of militaristic style of training, where it's like it's coming from the old military days of training.
Well, in Germany, dressage does go back to the military, and it really shows, and it's gotten better, but still, there is a lot of that where it's like, well, and to especially the competitive world, you have to have this certain horse, and otherwise, it's like this exclusive club, and you belong to it or you don't, and if you don't belong to it, people really look down on you, like, oh, you're lesser than, please, and I just would never, I've got a really nice Andalusian that I'm training now, and I love her dearly, and she's wonderful, and I feel really lucky. But I'd never want to give up my barn full of, I mean, I've also got this 19-year-old saddlebred who's never gone to school in her life, and and I'm just as excited to work with her, and she's gotten a lot better, and her owner's learning how to, communicate with her better, and all those things. I mean, that makes me really happy. Why would I want this barn full of really fancy horses with very stuck-up owners usually, who are very difficult to deal with?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It makes perfect sense. So tell me a little bit about in Germany when you started seeing the Western disciplines coming over. What attracted you or how did that shape up to be?
Oh, it was just a revelation. It's like you don't have to always, pull on the horse and when you take dressage instruction, in the 1980s in Germany, it's like you hear a lot of like go put make the reins shorter and and more leg and more whip and more spur and more everything. And then I looked at those horses that were I think it was Jean-Claude Disley. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's from Switzerland. He was instrumental in bringing Western riding in California, vaquero style riding to Europe. I think he's dead now, but he was just amazing. I mean, he was riding those horses in the hackamore, and then I think he had a bridle horse too. But I was just like, wow. I mean, he didn't seem to be doing anything, and he wasn't working so hard, and the horse looked like it wasn't working that hard. And so, I mean, that just really impressed the heck out of me.
Yeah, interesting.
That it actually,
Right.
it
What
looked a
area
whole
of
lot more practical.
what area of the Western United States are you from?
New Mexico.
New Mexico.
I went
Got
to
it.
New Mexico. I fell in love with New Mexico. I was on a tourist visa. The visa was good for 3 months. That was, gosh, that was 30 years ago. I never left again. So,
Yeah. So you stuck. You're like, this is the place for me.
yeah, I just felt like I had just come home. I mean, I said, no, this is it for me. I remember calling my parents. I was 19 years old, and my parents said, "You're going to stay where and live where?" And I said, "Yep, that's it," and it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big change. That's a big
Yeah.
change in so
And
many
it was a really rough awakening at that point because I worked for a couple of different trainers, but the one I stuck with the longest was this quarter horse world champion trainer with the big buckle and everything and Western riding and Western pleasure and all those things. And I was like, wow, this is my big chance. And my God, was she abusive. So I learned a lot about how I didn't ever want to train a horse. And I stayed there way too long, partly because I didn't have a green card and they threatened to call the immigration on me. So I really didn't have much choice at that point. But it was a real experience. I mean, it's like, oh my God, those horses don't go on a loose rein because they're happy, because they go on a loose rein because they're going to be yanked and cranked on. If they ever come out of that low frame, and the things that this person did to make the horses go that way. I mean, it's like you didn't want to know about, or you probably know some of it. I mean, it was horrible.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting how all the disciplines get so exaggerated and contorted. So whether
and then it just becomes a style that people are trying to imitate. Like, this person's winning, so my horse needs to look like that, and I will make my horse look like that. Without really knowing, like, why is this happening, and what was this person originally trying to do? And it's like people don't think about these things.
Yeah, and it happens in all disciplines. I mean, in dressage and modern dressage, we see the leg movements and everything got so grotesque and exaggerated. Western pleasure horses going so slow. What cowboy is going to ride their horse like that across the desert? But he's not going to do
anywhere. And this whole thing about their haunches stuck to the inside all the time. And then I worked for one trainer who said, "Oh, you have to learn how to do a spur stop." And I said, "What's that?" It's like, "Oh, you put your spur in the horse, and the more you do, the slower the horse goes." And the horse stops. Like, why would I do that? That makes no sense.
Yeah,
and it's just a dead end.
It's a dead end. And you the story about it's the big lick and saddle seat, and where and that kind of makes sense, where all of a sudden people saw this horse won. So pretty soon people see that won. So now let's take it to the extreme. And over the course of time, it gets more and more contorted.
Right. Yeah, if the horse throws the knees higher, then the horse will win more. So we're going to have one that throws his knees even higher.
Right.
And it was the same with the Western pleasure. It's like, a horse like goes relaxed in a low frame. I mean, that's desirable and good. And we all want that. But then it's like, oh, well, I can make my horse's head even lower. And then it's like I can make my horse's nose drag the ground. And look at that. It's like, well, that wasn't really the point.
Not really the point. And where's the art in that?
There isn't.
Right.
There isn't.
No, and then you have all those shortcuts and methods. Oh my God. I mean, the things that I now know and I wish I had never learned about how to make a horse drop his head. I mean, it's outrageous.
Right.
I mean, and I'm not proud to admit this, but that was when I was in my early 20s and I worked for this big time trainer. And we used to tie their heads up overnight to where their feet were almost off the ground. So their neck muscles would get really tired. And then they'd come out the next morning and go, and, by God, I mean, I still can't believe I didn't say, no, I will not participate in this. But it's like, well, if that's how it's done, maybe I just need to get tougher about it. And I finally woke up one morning and said, never again. But it took a while.
Yeah. No, that's hard. I went to a Congress looking for a horse for some clients, and I hadn't been exposed to that. and I saw the horses, they were putting them up on blocks, tying their heads up and then taking the blocks
Yes,
down.
yes, 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 yes. That isn't that awful?
It's shocking. I was
And the owner just stands there and smiles benignly, like, what owner? I mean, if that was my horse, I would just say, no, you will never touch my horse again. But no, they're just like, well, if that's how it's done, I guess that's what we need to do.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
No,
And didn't they
I
use
hope the owners of my training horses would tell me, like if I did something like that, they would just say, no, we're taking that horse home today.
Right,
right.
exactly. And
Yeah.
when you look at a horse in its natural state, or even just on its own in the herd, playing and jumping, and the movements that it makes, and the way that it looks, if people would look at those movements and say, now how do I get that look, right? And or
Yeah.
that how do I get that out of my horse, instead of going for some look that they see? It's crazy to me.
They're so beautiful
Well,
naturally.
Right.
yeah, it's beautiful naturally. And then also, I mean, it's like if you look at like what dressage originally did, like it had a really practical purpose. Like horses aren't really built to carry us around on their backs. So, if you train a horse in this gymnastic way that dressage, really is, it's like they their left side and their right side start to even out, and their top line develops, and they're gonna stay sound for many, many years. And and they're not gonna be so on their forehand, and they're gonna be much more comfortable carrying a rider in the long run. And so we're doing them a big favor, but that kind of gets lost, that aspect of it.
I think it does too. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So then what happened after that trainer? How did you start to get exposed to more of the horsemanship, the quality horsemanship that you now practice?
Well, it was, honestly, that trainer, I have to go back and find her and look her up and give her a big hug and tell her, thank you, thank you, thank you, because that's what got me started thinking, this is not who I am. This is not how I want to train. This is not how I want my horses to go. There's got to be a better way, right? And so then I started looking for that better way. And then I started, getting back into dressage and taking lessons again and looking at people. And then also I have my own training business. And of course I would only, I was, young, I was in my mid late 20s. And I also worked for a reining trainer in between, by the way. And that was another big learning experience. That was really interesting, and I learned some good things and a lot of really awful things. So these are the people that really got me started thinking there's got to be a better way. Then when I started out on my own, I got a lot of horses, of course, that nobody else really cared to take on. So because that's what you do when you start out. And so then I was like, well, I have this bunch of horses that what can I do for them? How can I what can they do? And so then I dressage at that time in the Southwest was very all breed and not very well established yet. And you could go in with a horse, and if that horse was just going correctly, you'd get a decent score and do okay. So that's what I started doing. And I revisited the dressage again, but then also I never got rid of my Western saddle and the stuff I had learned from the one good trainer. I worked for a colt starter who taught me how to start young horses in the round pen and do all those things before it was even called natural horsemanship. And so I kept that, and I still start my young horses that way, the ones I still do start. And so it's just kind of evolved to where it's like, okay, well, I'll take the good and there's some things that I will never ever do again. Like, start young horses on Ace Promise. And I mean, that's awful. Nobody should ever do that, but people do it all the time.
I love how you are so rounded, because that was the other goal of the fair, was to bring together all of these disciplines, because in the industry there is, well, I ride dressage, or I do hunter jumpers, or I show
Yeah, and I'm
horses
totally different from you. And it's like, I know. I mean, it's like I show Western dressage now. Well, not this year. Nobody shows this year, but so I was really excited when Western dressage started, and I went to the judging seminar, and I'm getting pretty involved in that, and and that's really cool, because now, I mean, it's about time for that. I mean, this is exactly what I've always done anyway, just to put good dressage basics on any horse in any saddle. But you wouldn't believe some of the pushback from the classical dressage world, like, oh, the Western dressage, they don't know what they're doing, and Western riders have no idea. And when I was working out of a classical dressage barn that was very fancy for a while, that was about 10 years ago, I thought I had finally arrived, and that's like, oh, I'm headed to FEI Nirvana, and but I didn't want to let go of my Western clients who would come and it's like, I have my little quarter horses, I have my fjord ponies, I have my rescue ponies from the horse shelters, and and I would train them all, and people were like, well, can't you get a real horse? And I was like, these are real horses. So I never really did fit in. And and they would, but my God, when I would ride a horse in a Western saddle, I'd give a lesson to somebody in a Western saddle with a Western, they'd be like, oh my God, that is so mean. That is so cool. I'm like, really, it's not. You've got two bits in your horse's mouth and you're really pulling on your horse and your horse's tongue is hanging out sideways. I mean, how is that? How can you look down on my clients who are in their simple little curb bit that the horse has been ridden in for years? And really, there's a lot to like. But it's just so hard for people to look past the tack. So I'm glad we have Western dressage, and I'm hoping that'll make the classical dressage will revisit some of their notions, because a lot of people don't want to show classical dressage anymore because it's not any fun.
Right.
Yeah. And other areas, other avenues of showing in the horse industry are declining as well, because it's not as fun for people. People want to do this. I mean, well, a lot of people that we know, they want to feel good, and that's why they get into horses. But
Well,
then
and
they
they
end
want
up
their
at
horse to feel good. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, it's like if you show, and it's like, it's like, I've done a lot of the Arab and the Morgan shows and the rail classes and the hunter and the saddle and the show hack and all those things that we used to do. But I always thought, gosh, even if I walked away with a blue ribbon, it's like if I had to make the horse do awful things to get there, it wasn't worth it. So I was always thought, no, there's a lot of things that I won't do to get into a show ring. And I don't want to be one of those trainers that totally poo-poo showing and say, oh, only cool people show. That's not true. I think you can be responsible and kind, and it's good to have goals, and you can be a good rider and a good horse person and still do some showing. But I think the goal and has to change, and the judging in a lot of those venues has to change too. Whereas like if the horse clearly looks unhappy, well then maybe the horse shouldn't place.
Go figure. I agree 100%.
I do too.
Yeah, definitely.
I do too. And there's so much each horse has to offer in your feel, and each discipline has to offer in your feel and your ability to ride, different maneuvers and put different words to it. You're from Germany, so you understand the language can be very important in
Oh my God, that's one of the things that I do a lot of thinking about, and I write about that now too. My next book may be about that. I don't know yet. I wrote one about dressage for all of us. I thought that needed to be said. But like the language is really, really, it's interesting. With the teaching somebody, it sometimes it has the opposite effect when you say something and then you watch what that person does. It has the opposite effect from what you really wanted, and so it has to do with. And that's one of the other things I've done is I went to college and I went to grad school, and I have a master's in German literature and one in English literature. I just kind of did that like in the evening on the wayside, and I have a graduate minor in linguistics because I always found that really fascinating what language does and how, and that's one of my big areas of interest. Like, how can we use language better around horses and in teaching and in learning and and in not being so disparaging to other people and other horse breeds. I mean, how can we just reframe a lot of this stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your book.
It's I'm not marketing it very well. It's called Dressage for All of Us, and it's basically my whole training and teaching philosophy. There's nothing that hasn't been said before. I mean, it's just good dressage in a language that people can understand. And it's basically written for all those people that come to me and say, well, I want my horses to go like the horses that you're riding or like my friend's horse that you train, but I don't want to do dressage. I don't want to go on this tight rein. I don't want to pull on my horse. I don't want to, wear that stupid outfit. And so I'm like, okay, so, for you, I write this book because it's not about that. And so this is, really breaks it down into, you don't need to buy a new saddle. You don't need to buy a new horse. And this is what dressage does, and this is what the training pyramid is, and this is why it's there, and this is why it's important to have a relaxed horse, and this is why it's important to then build on that, and this is and this is why what lateral work is, and this is why we do it, and it's just very very broken down into everyday terms,
which is great. And it's so important that people understand the why, because I think
that's huge.
Dressage model sometimes forgets about teaching the why.
Yeah, that's there's a big part of my book is about why do we do these things, because people tend to not understand. It's like, well, I take dressage lessons and the dressage instructor says sit on the horse like this and bend your elbow a certain way and have your leg in that position and make your horse rounder here and more of that. But it's like, why do I do that? Yeah, so that's huge. Yeah, knowing why. Yeah, and my students are intelligent, grown-up people, most of them, and they want to know why, and they have a right to know why they do the things that I tell them. So yeah, I'm not going to say because I'm the trainer, it's why. I mean, I hope I never ever say that.
Yeah, it's good. It's great that we all sort of chose our own style. We went off on our own. I mean, we still love dressage. We just there's our style of doing it. There's your style of doing it, right? And
Yeah.
so it really is a language, and it's supposed to be sort of a universal language. Some people they take it, they're heavy or they use a lot of leg or whatever they're doing. And there's just, we're taking it and we're saying, look, this is the way I'm going to apply it. But at least I can talk to you and I could say, do this movement or this movement. And we would have sort of an
Understanding.
understanding that we could use together with that. So I think that if you really look back at dressage, it was trying to get people out in the field doing other things. And it became its own discipline, which is okay, I guess. But look how many dressage horses you see at shows that are
Oh yeah,
not
I mean
really, yeah, they're not turning.
yeah, they're cranked down and their noses
Yeah,
are, I mean, their mouths are tight shut and yeah, I mean, I've taken dressage lessons where I'm there like with my loose noseband, like if I have one at all. And so the first thing the dressage instructor does is take the noseband and go,
right.
and okay, let's stop right there.
Yeah, it happens all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, if you go to, and last year for the first time in a long time, it's like I got so discouraged with classical dressage about 10, 12 years ago that I totally quit riding. And, that wasn't a very good idea. So I didn't ride at all for like 3 months. I went back to grad school. I right away started riding again because I couldn't not to. But then I started to really like revisit, like, what do I want to do with dressage? Like for a while in my late 30s, I thought, oh, well, I want to be a dressage person. I want to, go to FEI. I want to, like ride very fancy horses and go to fancy shows. And I've done some of that and I've done okay. But I was like, I just thought that's not me either. That's just not who I want to be. And I never wanted to, give up on the everyday horses. And I love quarter horses. I mean, I've ridden so many excellent quarter horses and Morgans and Arabians, and then I've worked with so many people that are endurance riders and Western riders and cowboys, and they all have good things to offer. So then you're in this dressage world, and everybody's like, "Oh, now you forget all that. Now you're in a much better place." I'm like, no, not really.
Well, and
Yeah.
you're coming from experience because you've got your bronze medal. You did it on a quarter horse, which is not easy, right? So tell us a little bit about that journey because that's
Oh,
interesting.
it was, yes. I was like, I was, when I came back to dressage and I was, out on my own as a trainer and I was, working, taking lessons from different people. That's where all my spare money went and still does. And so, then I thought, well, it's like dressage is for all horses. And I was, saying like what I'm saying now and what you guys are saying, only I wasn't realistic as far as competition goes. So I would say, well, it's like, I've got this friend who rescued this quarter horse off the track and then he was doing all the movements of, at first level, then second level. It's like we were showing and training level that was our scores were really good. Then you move up to first, second level, then it goes really down because of course he didn't have much of an extension at the trot, but still, I mean, most of what he did was very, very correct. And then come third level, it was really hard to get those 60s. But it was a real learning experience because my God, I learned that like you can some judges won't even look at you, and it was super discouraging. Some judges, they see you enter on a little quarter horse and they're like, oh, and everything's a 5. And then I thought it was me. I thought, oh, I'm just a bad rider. If I take more lessons, if I learn how to train better, if I look the part more, if I get like a more expensive pair of boots, and then maybe my scores will go up. But no, and then, the thing that made me understand that part better was that I finally did get a break, if you will. I mean, I had a client who had a couple of nice young warm bloods and let me show them and bring them along. And I entered at 8 and everything, all of a sudden, everything was an 8. And if I really messed up a movement, then maybe it was a 7. My
Right.
poor little quarter horses, they would enter and everything was a 5. And if they really, really, if I did everything exactly right, then maybe it was a 5.5 or a 6. But that you'd have to really work for that. Whereas on the couple of warm bloods that were so lovely, and looked like what the judge expected to see, then everything was super high, and you could make some pretty glaring mistakes, and that didn't matter. So I was like, that's how it is. Okay. So then I was super disappointed and super disillusioned. And then I thought, well, I just quit showing altogether. And then I thought, well, I can't do that either. So it's been a struggle as far as that goes. But I've come to a very similar place as you, it sounds like. Like I do want to keep doing it. I do want to keep showing it. There's a lot of people like what I have to offer there. And so, I'll keep doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we would both show ourselves dressage and jumpers, and she did barrel racing as well. And we would take students to
Nice.
shows, and we absolutely 100% understand and agree because we've had similar observations. And I don't want to look apart anymore. Like it's like you look the part, you take this warm blood
Right.
and you naturally have higher scores, right? But maybe you worked really hard and the quarter horse is really doing great
Yeah.
uh, for where you're at, but you just don't get rewarded that way. And they need to
No,
look
you
at
don't.
each horse, individually as a judge, do your job and score accordingly and not be
Yeah.
offended that somebody brought a horse that doesn't.
Oh, well, that's the other thing. Some judges actually like they look kind of offended, like, how dare you enter my husband on this 14-year-old, 14-hand pony?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
I'm
know.
like, well, I paid the same money as everybody else. I mean, he's like, I have a right to be judged.
Right, which makes sense that then there's the offshoot and there's the Western. When I hear Western dressage, I always think, on one hand, it's a good thing. On the other hand, it's like, to me, it's sort of like an oxymoron because it's like, it's dressage, but I get it. We don't quite fit in the same because we have to wear, like you said, the certain outfit and have that type of saddle. So all of a sudden, all these offshoots came about, which I guess in a way is really good because it gives people options. And the thing about showing is it gives people a goal. And
Yeah.
so, we have this where some people don't show and then they have a harder time figuring out their goals or evaluating where they at in their journey with their horse. So now, do you have anything to say about people that don't show horses? What are some benchmarks or indicators that they can go off of that they're
Oh,
progressing?
I have a lot of clients who say, no, I don't ever want to show. And I always tell them, don't totally rule it out. You might, need get to a point where you might say it's a fun thing to try as long as it's not the only thing you focus on. But then if you're very clear you don't want to do that, so there's like a list of things that's like I have like at my facility I have like this little trail course area set up. So we have this big front area with trees growing in it, and so there's different obstacles in there. I'm like, okay, so can you trot over these logs? Can you open the gate without letting go of it? It's like even if your horse is a dressage horse in a dressage saddle, it doesn't matter. Can you go up on these tires and things? Can your horse sight pass over this log? So trail obstacles are really good because that gives people like something concrete to work on, and it's some of that is stuff that might actually come up on the trail, right, if that's what they want to do. And then, quite apart from that, so I have this list of things like, will your horse, stand tight, without sitting back? Can you lead your horse without constantly tugging or holding back or pulling? Can you pick your horse's feet up, stand still while being saddled? So then, when you get in the saddle, will your horse stand still while you get up there from both sides? Will your horse walk and trot and canter in both directions? Can your horse do a round circle? Can your horse do a leg heel? So then, so there's different things. And then, it's like when people say, well, why would I want to learn that if I only want a trail ride? That is what, that is a lot of discussions I've had. It's like, well, what do you say, only trail ride? I mean, I have people pull up and say, well, for an evaluation or their first lesson. And they say, well, all I want to do is trail ride. And we're doing okay with that. And then I get on the horse because normally that's what I like to do, see what the horse tells me. And I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't take this horse on a trail. You're very brave. So then it's like, well, can you stop your horse when you want to? I mean, that's a big, right? So there's like all those things that, that people realize, oh my gosh, I didn't know, that maybe it would be a good idea if I could control my horse in this setting or that setting. So yeah, there's always lots to work on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a funny question when people, I guess it's a statement when people say, all I want to do is trail ride. And I always say, well, that's harder than riding in an arena. So so let's get to work, because there's more skills, there's more unknown, more skills that we need to work on to do that. So it's the same here. I hear that a lot too.
Yeah. It's a funny thing. Yeah.
Right.
There's many, we're just going back to dressage just because that's come up, but there's many upper level dressage riders that cannot ride their horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so funny. I was like, yeah, I mean, I get that too. And then all of my dressage horses, by the way, they do go on trails, and I'm very lucky. I have direct trail access from my barn, so I get to play with that a lot. But and it's so good for a dressagers to go up a hill and down a hill and be with other horses and go on a loose rein and not have to always be in that frame. I mean, that's that's not good for any horse. So that's another thing on that list of things a horse should know. Like can your horse go on a trail ride? I mean, they should be able to, right? But a lot of upper level dressagers are like, oh, I'd never do that. So
yeah,
that is very funny.
Yeah. So I think it's so neat that you're able to pull in all of these perspectives and help your students from wherever they're at. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I've always enjoyed that. I mean, my current working student, she's an endurance rider. And, of course, I love that because I'm an endurance runner. And that's, by the way, has also taught me a lot about riding horses. And so, so my working student, she's a very soft, and she grew up on a horse farm, and her mother, breeds horses. So, she's a very soft rider. There's a lot to like there, but she's deathly afraid of contact. And so now I'm really working on teaching her that it's not a bad thing, and the horse can be happy doing that, and it'll really help her horse at the start of an endurance race to go completely bonkers and then completely out of control, which he now does. And he wastes a lot of energy that way. Yeah. So, so that's another thing that I do is I work with endurance riders and do dressage basics with their horses. And yeah, I love that crowd because they're so much less pretentious than the dressage people.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Now tell us a little bit about the running that you do, the endurance running, because that is something that I think is important for all riders to think about the athletic component of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure not only the athletic component of ourselves, but also our horses. And I'm sure it's talking a lot about both.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I love working with endurance riders, because they understand that a horse's fitness, that's a big piece of the puzzle, right? I mean, it's not the only piece. I mean, they can be fit and really crooked and really, not working correctly. But yeah, it's like if they're fit, that's a big piece of the puzzle right there. A lot of dressage horses are not very fit. If they work for 35 minutes, they're exhausted, and so that is something that that's something that needs to be addressed. And I know from my own journey as an athlete, I mean, it's like horses are athletes, and so are riders, and so riders need to be fitter than they are, a lot of them. And then if they have no core strength, and if they have no balance, and if they have no idea like where the center is, well, then maybe there's things that they need to do off the horse to do that. And it's the same with the horses. If the horse is completely lacking in fitness, there's something a little wrong there. I mean, it's like you don't want to, it's like, so those are some of the trail riders I work with. They say, well, I just want to go once a week for this 5-hour trail ride. It's like, really? So your own training, would you do it that way? Like, I don't run all week and then I go for this 5-hour all out effort. That's not being very nice. So that's another soapbox that I sometimes stand on with people.
What about the mental end of like the ultra marathons and
that's huge.
When you start low, and I mean, how do you get through that? What goes through your head? Tell us about when you do run.
Well, it's an exercise in mindfulness, just like riding horses all day. It's very similar. It's like the time is here, the time is now, the place is here. So that is, what goes through my head. And so, what the ultra runners, like one saying that we have in the ultra running community, in the 100-mile community, is like, well, you have to learn to embrace the suck. So it's going to get really bad, right? If you're out there, in the mountains for 100 miles. I did the Bighorn 100 last year. I mean, that was gnarly. We had snow, we had mud, we had sleet, we had lightning and thunder, we had everything. There were times I thought I was going to die out there, but then, I thought, well, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, really. But no, you just learn to just be there with it, and that even if you're at mile 60 and you're really thinking of quitting, and you're thinking it's going to get worse from here on forward, now that I've done this 20 some times in the 100-mile races, I can say it doesn't always get worse. It's like there's going to be another sunrise. There's going to be, you'll be able to eat again. You'll quit throwing up, and it's like you won't quit hurting, but it'll get a little better, and and you can finish, and nothing compares to crossing that finish line. And so there's interesting analogies there for riding horses, because like the training process is very much like running 100, where like you're in it for the long haul, and there's going to be parts of that where you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to say, oh my God, I didn't even know how to ride. What am I doing, charging people money for this? And then there's going to be moments where this feeling right. And then there's going to be moments where you're like, wow, this is just the best job in the world, and I'm so freaking lucky to be doing it. And so it helps to know that going in, that it's not all going to be this blissful experience here. There's going to be times that are going to feel really awful, but then there's going to be other times that make it all worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think that's so important for amateurs to understand, because there are hard moments, and there are times where you've got to come to.
Yeah, and there are times, and that's it's like where I have a bit of a problem with the people that say, well, you should only use positive reinforcement. And no, there are going to have times when you have to tell the horse, no, this not ever. We don't do that. And it doesn't mean that your relationship is bad. It just means that you have good boundaries. But I mean, I've had a couple of people who say, well, we only want to do the clicker training, and we never want to discipline our horses. And I'm like, well, good luck to you. That's great. But I just I feel like there comes a time when it's like, you do have to set certain limits, and you do have moments where the harmony kind of goes away. And as long as it's, for a moment, that is okay, as long as you then get it back. I mean, it's like, to me, the abuse comes in with this prolonged, like, in the dressage where you have those people with their nagging legs, that they're nagging hands, and they're nagging spurs, and they're nagging everything, where everything, like, they try to squeeze every step out of the horse, or the Western riders that are constantly correcting and backing off, and, doing like this gazillion one-lane stops, and the horse is twisted into a pretzel. I mean, and it just keeps going on, and it doesn't, really have a purpose. I mean, that to me is a lot more abusive than this, than the correction that's like, okay, you get it over with. But yeah, it's important for people to understand that there comes a time when, you can't, it's like you want to be your horse's best friend, but there comes a time when you just, being the best friend means you say, no, we don't do that.
Right.
It's like in a herd. I mean, and it's the same with us and the way we work with horses. We're encouraging certain actions and mindsets, and we're discouraging other movements or actions or mindsets with horses. And so it's
Yeah.
like this encourage, discourage thing. Horses.
Yeah, and I'm all for, being as positive as you can. And then everybody who's ever, watched me and worked with me knows that, it's like, yeah, I really try to be as positive with horses as possible. But, yeah, it's not 100% possible. And yeah, and then people have asked me that, can you promise me that you'll only use positive reinforcement while I'm horse herding? I have to say, well, no, I'm not your trainer. Right? I can't really do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when you live, we live with horses. I think you live with horses.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's different when we see how they are in the herd. It's when I go out and feed hay bales, when I have to drive my tractor through the gate and put hay bales outside, it's like it's got to be real and in a way that the horse can understand. And horses are very clear with each other, and they very much get to the point. And most of the time, it's good. They're in harmony together.
Yep.
But there are moments where it's not. So.
Yeah, there's like threatening gestures, and sometimes there's bite marks. And that's another, pet peeve I have with the dressage riders. There's the big fancy barn that I worked out of for a while. They had those tiny little turnout pens, and the horses would go for like an hour at a time by themselves. And I would say, well, can't we make a bigger pen? And then my horses, they need to really go together. That's kind of part of their life, and that's a big part of it. And they looked at me like I was this really cruel person. But no, now in the barn where I'm working, thankfully, it's like, the owner understands that better. And the turnout pens are much bigger. So yeah, I have groups of 3 that I turn them out, and sometimes it doesn't work, and then I get horses that don't really, that haven't really been socialized well, but mostly it works, from day one. And the horse might have a bite mark on it for a day or two, but it's like then they figure it out, and they know, and it's fine after that. So yeah, it's that's another thing that I think dressage riders are. It's like, oh, my horse can't have any marks on it. It's like, please. Yeah, it'll heal.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's any of the the show realm where people need.
Yeah.
It's a look. It's about the look, not necessarily the horse.
Exactly. But also there's this personification that goes on with people and horses all the time. And so they don't quite understand what their horse needs, like movement and like to play.
Huge.
Right.
Oh, you can fix so many problems just by getting them out enough. I mean, that's another thing my own endurance training has confirmed. I knew it before then, but yeah, it's like there's so many, like if I don't get to run, oh my God, I'm not even the same person, like after a few days. And I think it's the same with horses. Like I know what that horse feels like when it's stuck in a stall and can't get out. I mean, you just get to where you're not even the same horse. And I totally understand that.
I gotcha. I mean, and think about a wild horse. I mean, off the top of my head, what would a wild horse travel a day? Maybe 12. So you think about that, and you think about what our horses, and our horses are turned out in a big area, but they still don't even move close to that.
And so yeah. So if they're turned out and you ride them and it's like ideally, like if I totally had it my way, it's like I would, do like ride them for an hour and then like do something else with them and turn them out most of the day, and all that. I mean, it's like that would be the ideal lifestyle. And that goes for humans too, by the way. I think a lot of, mental and physical ailments we wouldn't have if we just moved more.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know about that.
I do.
mean, yeah.
Yeah. I've had arthritis since I was a child. At like 5 years old, I was diagnosed, and my wrist is fused and my fingers fused, tons of surgeries. But man, I learned from early on through my physical therapy and through life that if you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly.
These horses with, that are they you look at them and they look physically able, but they're turning up lame.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, you find they've been sitting in a stall, which is not what the body is made for. It's not made for.
No, no, and it's really like, yeah, even with an injured horse, yeah, there's yeah, there's like if you have this acute, injury that really needs to be kept quiet, like, okay, fine, but after like a little bit of that, it's like, yeah, the walking is better than not moving at all. And so, yeah, but most of the time, like, even for a horse that's not really sound, it's better for them to move. And I have a horse in training now that has an old tendon injury, and he wasn't supposed to be sound, but yeah, he's nice and rideable and doing good things. And I'm like, oh, so far so good. And I think plus patient training and a lot of movement, walking and jogging, it's done him a lot of good. And he's sounder than his vet ever thought he would be.
Right.
Yeah.
So getting back to now people and people being physically fit. Now we all understand how important that is with their relationship with their horse, but how do you tell clients that they're not fit and that they need to become more fit?
Well, it takes some tact and diplomacy. Germans aren't known for that. I try to no, I know I try to be really nice about it. I try to wait until the moment is right. I try to make them see look, this is yeah, and most of my clients they know, they know that, oh, I need to lose 50 pounds, like, oh, I need to like have a little bit more stamina, like, so when I work with somebody and so the horse is doing pretty well, and then the rider says, I need to take a break. So then I said, well, like, think about it. Like, if you started to work a little bit on your own fitness, then you wouldn't need that, and then your horse would be able to progress a little more today. So that's like a good moment to bring that up. But it doesn't do any good to walk up to people and fat shame them, and that. I mean, no, I don't do that.
No,
No.
but it's a hard
But
thing.
yeah, it's hard, but
It
it's necessary.
It is. And it's like, especially we know the difference that what that can do for our balance, our ability to move with the horse and flow
Oh
along with
yeah.
the horse. And if people could just understand that this is so much working on ourselves first,
Yeah. Both
Oh yeah.
mentally and
mentally
physically.
and
It's
physically, right? And
Oh yeah.
do what we need to do. It's one thing to watch a video. That's just an idea, and that's just that's one part of it. But what you do off the horse is just so important. So,
Yeah, no, that is a huge component, and yeah, it's when you watch a video and then you try, yeah, that's by the way, that's not a criticism of the online horse fair or video channels. I mean, now that you've inspired me to get the YouTube channel up, and yeah, I was like, I'm gonna like learn how to do that now.
good.
Yeah, it's like, but that's also like you have to be a little bit cautious, because watching somebody else do something on a horse and then you try to do that, you have to really understand the why behind it. I mean, on my video for the horse fair, I really tried to do that. Like, this is why I'm doing this, and this is what happens when I don't do it, and this is but yeah, so that's what I think also impedes learning for a lot of people, that they imitate. They're like, oh yeah, I want to look like that person, I want my horse to look like that horse, and you don't fully understand what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then you're setting yourself up for not being able to accomplish anything. And so yeah, I'm really trying to, that's another I like area that I do a lot of thinking and writing and teaching in.
right. And that's another nice feature about the fair is that maybe my specialty isn't off of the horse exercises, although I do work on that a little bit. But I might be able to send a person over to somebody else in the fair and say, look at
Oh
this,
yeah.
check this person out. Maybe I like working with the horsemanship side of things a bit more. So that allows us to say, here's another person, check out this video. And maybe it's
Yeah, no,
easier.
definitely.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, there's some really good people that specialize in doing exercises off the horse. And that's another thing where it's like, with all my injuries from running and all of that, and all the falls I've taken and all the times I've hit the dirt, it's like I finally last year went to see a physical therapist, and it made a big difference. I was like, God, I wish I had done that 20 years ago. I mean, that's another thing that I tell people a lot, like, oh, it's like, if you're, like, if you can't sit straight on a horse, like, if that really hurts you, or like if that's not comfortable, if you can't even like walk without pain, like, that's something you should address in your own body. And and we're horse people, so we tend to power through it, but that's not always in our best interest.
Exactly.
No, I think the neat part about horses and riding is it's so inclusive. So you've got this caring for another being, right? This
Yeah.
animal. You've got the care of yourself, which has so many facets. It has nutrition, it has stability balance, it's got the mindset aspects, it's got the physical fitness aspects. So you have that slice of this puzzle or the circle, I guess, or whatever you would like to call it. And then you've got understanding the mental component of another being that thinks completely different than we do.
Yeah.
And
But that is what's so fascinating. I just wrote a blog post about that. That is what's so fascinating about riding horses in the first place. That like, and that's, another issue I have with the clicker trainers who barely get on their horses. It's like, this is like a way of communicating with another being that is so much more nuanced and so much more subtle. And it's like you can like talk to the horse directly with your butt and your back, and it's just amazing. I can't do that with my dog. I can't do that with my cat. We can communicate with them, and we can use our body language, but not in this direct way. When I turn my body a little bit and the horse goes, oh, I know what you want, I'll do that. It's huge.
Yeah.
So that is just, if you really think about that, it just blows the mind.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate dance, isn't it?
Yeah.
And not only that, but then maybe, you're a fast runner and I'm sort of a fast runner.
Well, I'm a slow runner.
Are you?
I just do it for a really long time.
But think about how far or how fast a horse could take us, or how high, a horse, I can jump a lot higher on the back of a horse. And so it's like their legs are our legs at that, mind, it's together. So it's the ultimate. And I think that's why so many people are attracted to it.
And it's a sport you can do until you're in your 90s.
Right.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm going to be 50 this year. And so I'm doing a lot of thinking about, getting older too. And I'm thinking, so this, it's like, and I look at some people, like, especially guys that are like big, strapping, muscular, and they use their muscles because they have them. And so then, it's like I talked to this older cowboy friend of mine, and I said, it's like he didn't really reach the level of horsemanship that he is at today until his physical strength started kind of going away, and then he realized, like, oh, I don't need that. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of getting to the same point. If you have the strength, you're going to use it because you can. If you don't have it, well, then you realize, oh, maybe you shouldn't have done that in the first place. So and that's really cool. This did you see that video of the Japanese guy, the Olympian? 76 now, I think. Yeah, that's he's riding Grand Prix. And it's like, okay, well, that's like I've got 25 more years to look forward to. So it's really cool that we can do it until we're older, and especially when we're older, we can do it even better when we're older.
Yeah, exactly. Because you and finding a better way, working with the mind of the horse. Yeah. And there was a difference when we were younger, because we met when we were quite young. And so, I would get in there more, and I was definitely more physical when I was a kid, and I wish I knew better. Paula, she wasn't able to do what I did in that respect. So she found a better way. Yeah. So she took more time.
Arthritis was an advantage, actually.
Yeah. Huge.
About how to truly communicate, because force wasn't an option,
Right.
And no, that's great.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't for me either. It's like I'm 5'6" and not very big. And so, I was like, okay, well, if I want to do what those other people do, I better be smart about it. I don't want to get killed. And so that does make you think. But it's like if you look at, some, dressage riders, or, some of those reining trainers that are like those huge guys, and they can just, intimidate the horse into doing whatever. I feel kind of sorry for them, because it's like, well, it works for them. Why would they do it differently? Yeah, it would.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. And the horses, they in some respects, they are a reflection, that not always, but they are a reflection of how we're going about doing these things, just like our children can be, and those in our life can kind of reflect back to us how we are. And so horses are just so interesting that way, because I think they magnify some of those things if we're willing to actually see.
Yeah, horses and reflecting their riders, that is, it's like, they say dogs look a lot like their owners after a few years. I think horses don't like, they go the way we ride them. And that's, you can learn a lot about the person by watching, how do these do the, and it's like if you, like, one horse might come with a lot of baggage and it's not like this surefire thing, but, it's like I've encountered a lot of combinations. It's like, okay, well, so this is how this person is. And it's like, if the horse looks happy and relaxed and trusting, that's a big recommendation. It's like, oh, I'm more inclined to trust that person. But, that's why I think, like, in those pandemic times where we really need to ride our horses. That is just huge. I mean, they're so good for us.
Yeah.
It's, it's like most of the barns in my area are totally shut down. And I've been, refusing to do that. It's like, I'm not teaching right now because it's considered non-essential, but my boarders can come and visit their horses and ride their horses. And I'm like, I'm going to, really like fight for your right to do this, because that is what keeps us all sane. And they all say, like, you come to the barn, one at a time, and you miss the social time, which, is unfortunate, but it can't be helped right now. But, the time that people spend on their horse, that's the one time they don't think about all the, like the news and all the dire predictions. And that to me is like this sanctuary, feeling. And I just feel so incredibly lucky. I get to go to the barn, and that's the rhythm of my day. I ride the first horse, I unsaddle that one, I take it out to the pasture. I bring the second horse in, and then it just goes like that all day. And it's just the best way to live life. I mean, you're very in the moment. It's, it's like a state of meditation almost.
Is.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, eventually these people need to ride. If not ride that horse, maybe ride another horse for a while, but get in the saddle, work on yourself, and then be able to have that goal of riding your horse, because that is why most people do it. And the vision that they see isn't them standing on the ground with a lead rope. The vision in their mind is being on that horse and riding. And so eventually they need to get to that point, because
and I'm glad you're saying that,
Yeah.
because it's like, there's some people who probably at this point should not be on their horses because, it's going to get them killed. But, the goal should be, it's like to experience that feeling of like, oh, if I do this with my back, then the horse will follow. And it's a beautiful thing. And to, not so much to control, but to want the same thing, to suggest things with our bodies. And then the horse says, oh, I'll be happy to do that. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get people to experience. And it's and like you say, the goal isn't to stand on the ground and so you can do that with a dog. I mean, if that's all you want to do, there's other animals that are just as suited to that, and they're not as big and they're not as expensive. But with horses, that's one of the things that fascinate me, that we can be on their back and we can communicate in this super special way. Yeah, I always wonder. Do you ever wonder how many species early humans tried to ride before they figured out that horses would be the thing? Like, imagine, like, the woolly mammoth have a hard time steering, the giant sloth doesn't go anywhere.
Exactly.
And going back to the thoughts that you had on everybody not being able to go see their horses during this time, they really connect us, like you said, in that mindful state, that here and now state, that takes us out of this fear vibration that people are so stuck in because of being stuck just, hearing the news. I mean, you listen to the news, you're seeing people in masks.
Oh my God, it's just, it's like, I never thought it would affect me this badly to be at the grocery store and not be able to see people's faces. I mean, I started crying in the parking lot the other day. It was like, oh my God, I mean, this is like, what's this world coming to? And my husband, who is not a horse person, he says, well, let's watch World War Z and Contagion, and let's get ready for he's watching all those apocalyptic movies, and he thinks it's really funny, and I'm like, I can't do that right now, it's very depressing. But then you get to the barn, and it's like the horses have nothing to do with it, and they remind us of that, and so then you just forget about it. So it's huge for me. I mean, I can't imagine not having horses right now.
I know, and there's so many people, through this fair, I have gotten so many emails from people that are just they're devastated. They have not seen their horse in months. Their horse has had a foal. They haven't been able to see the foal. They're locked in their apartment. They're not even able to go outside. It's so sickening and sad, because nature brings us back to what's real.
And I've had long discussions with my barn owner. I said, look, we can't shut it down. We can be sensible. We can be responsible. But I just can't keep people away from their horses right now. It would be just cruel and unusual and damaging in all sorts of ways. And it's not gonna, spread any viruses, because, it's like horses don't really do that. So we can be smart about it, and we can take all sorts of precautions, but please, let's not shut the barn down. I've been fighting for that.
We've allowed our clients to come out too, because of that same reason.
Yeah, exactly.
That own their own horse, because it's just it's essential. I feel it's essential.
Yeah, it is essential. Not so maybe not for the horses, but for us it is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal right now, and so and I'm worried about what this whole thing will do to the horse industry. And there's a lot of people say, well, this might be the end of it, and I try not to think about that. But God, I hope not. I mean, we need horses, we really do.
I think because of the way horses make people feel, we'll always have some business, and there'll always be people that want horses, but it might just change what people do. And maybe
Yeah.
there's less showing, but people are still going to want to learn and people still want to work on themselves. And the horse will do that. So it's definitely
Yeah.
not the end of the horse industry. It's probably just it's a start to something new.
Yeah, and we can look at it as an opportunity too. Like, was that really ever important? Like those excesses of, the $100,000 horse with the, and the $1,000 dressage boots and all those things. Like that's, a little bit disgusting to me. I mean, it's like nobody needs that. And so, maybe it'll be a good thing to not have that, and to realize that maybe just a normal horse is a really beautiful thing that you can learn a lot from.
Right. And being away from the horse, maybe there's many people that have had time to think and evaluate where they're at and where they're at with their horsemanship. And maybe the videos caused them they need to make a change. And normally they would be spending their time at the barn.
Well, exactly. And that
Right.
was like, you guys really timed it right. I mean,
Yes.
I told a lot of people about this and they're like, oh, you need to watch this. And you've got a lot of my friends. I mean, you've got Jack there and Amy and, a bunch of people that I really respect and care about. And so, it's nice for people to be able to watch like different trainers. And then, you're the ones like, oh, Amy sounds just like you. It's like, well, that's we've like reached a very similar spot and, like on a different route maybe, but it's just nice to have that crossover and to realize like, oh, you can have a Western trainer and a dressage trainer and a hunter trainer and a physical therapist and like all those different people and it all just kind of like it's like a Rubik's cube and you can have like the sides that's kind of like it's like, oh, this is another piece like there, oh, this fits in here, this is really cool. Right. So no, I've made that experience too, so I really want to thank you for putting that on. That was super.
Yeah,
you're welcome, and thank you. It's great having you.
Yeah,
as a part of it.
I wish. Yeah, it'd be nice to get out there sometime. We like New Mexico.
Where are you guys at?
We're in Wisconsin,
right? So north of Milwaukee. We did
okay.
For about 6 months years ago. For about 6 months, we worked on a cattle ranch in Arizona. And it was
so nice.
I took some clients, trachiners that I showed for him, and we had some of our own. We took 11 horses down there, and some were training horses and some were our own. But we would go into the Phoenix and Scott, Tucson area, and we would sometimes show them jumpers and all rode one of the studs dressage. But we would spend the week riding on this ranch. That's what we did, and we didn't really go. There weren't jumps there. At the ranch.
Arena.
There's no, I mean, the arena, why go on the arena when you had, all this land? And so we ended up then going to the shows on the weekends. And then the horses in the arena were fresh. They were like, oh, I haven't seen this. This looks different. They had some energy and some curiosity, but it was just, it was an interesting experience to go from.
I bet. Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Arizona. Yeah. And then to have this idea of, which was really hard for us to grasp in the beginning, you can ride wherever you want.
Yeah.
We don't have that here. I mean, on my land, we do ride wherever we want, but if I have horse pastures or hay fields, I'm not riding.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. So you make these boxes and squares, and out in Arizona, it was like you could ride any direction. You could let the horse go and see where they took you. So I loved that. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. And you probably have a little bit of that in New Mexico as well, huh?
Oh yeah. No, we have we have desert and And no, I hardly ever get to really go out into the wilderness where you can really do that. But it's like even right behind my barn, we've got 50 acres with some horse trails, and there's a neighbor who is an adventurer, so he put like trails up there, and you can actually, it's nice. You can actually like go and gallop a horse if you want to. It's a really neat thing.
It is a neat
thing. Yeah. We'd get on a colt, and if they were real fresh, because they had a colt starting company as well, so we did some out there while we were there. Had to earn our keep. Anyway, you'd take them and you'd head down towards a wash. And you'd be like, okay, if you want to move out, and wash, and it'd be sandy, and they'd go for a while, and then
they get tired. They're like, oh well, this is a shot idea. Yeah.
Right. Then you'd go do the next thing, and it was cool.
It was pretty cool. So when we moved to our property here, we worked with excavation companies, and we put in hills, and our land's relatively flat, but there's a creek that runs through it. So then we used that. We put in these hills to try to just simulate more terrain changes.
And we understand the physical fitness aspect, right? So up and down hills is so important.
Yeah, it's huge.
Right.
Yeah, it really is. Like in a dressage horse, it really builds their top line and their muscles. And all my dressage horses go up and down the hills a lot. It's really good for them mentally and physically.
Yeah, and have a reason to carry themselves.
Yeah.
And to work on, you go up and down my hill a few times, And it's like, how many 20-meter circles would it take to work the muscles? And you wouldn't even work them the same way. You're working, but
no, it's, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love 20-meter circles. It's harder than it looks. But yeah, it's like the up and down. There's no substitute for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's cool. And, I have nothing against dressage as a language and as a training system. I don't have a problem with that. I just think we should put our own style to it. And I'll do some of that outside. I'll do I'll work dressage on my trails on the hills. She did it with
absolutely. Yeah.
That you did some pre-St. George on and hardly rode him in the ring.
Yeah.
So
just did all my conditioning on the trails, and I hadn't been in the standard dressage arena until the dressage show, until I'd go to the dressage shows and
cool. Yeah. Then he had the movement.
Then he had the movement, right? Because he'd been riding out using himself. If I had ridden sand circles, there's no way I would have been able to get him.
No, you got to switch things up. I mean, I love my little trail course. It also has some elevation change, and you can just keep things varied, and then it's like if they do the same thing every single day, my God, I mean, it's like we go crazy too.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
How can people get a hold of you? Do you have a website? I know you have your book.
Yeah, so if you Google my name, my website is Katrin Silva Dressage. And it comes up, and I'm in the process of redoing it, but it's fairly serviceable. And I need to put a link to my book on my website, but it's also available on Amazon and on Maddie Butcher's website on Knicker News. So that's another good way to read what I write. It's so Knicker News publishes a lot of my musings there.
Right. So you have your blog, and then also, so what is the name of the blog?
It's just under my on my website. So
on
there's
website. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the name of your book as well
is Dressage for All of Us.
Okay.
Yeah, it started out as dressage for the rest of us, and there was like some ladies who tried copyright infringement, and so so we just changed the title to Dressage for All of Us. So that's what it is now.
Right. I love it.
Good. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. And you're working on a YouTube channel, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm working on a YouTube channel. I just ordered a microphone. It's like, one of the guys I work with at the barn is fairly knowledgeable about these things. I'm like, okay, well, and then I get going on that. So there will be more videos and lots to look forward to. So thank you for getting me started along those lines there.
Yeah, good. You're welcome. Yeah, it's good. It's good that you're heading that direction. That's awesome because you've got a great message.
Yeah, you do great work. And it's funny how that, Karen's got Paula on her track. So we're realizing we're like, there's opportunity here with technology. And although horses bring us back to nature and being real again, it's nice that we can branch out and talk to each other. And we can connect the dots, so to speak. We can connect the dots between disciplines and and I'm realizing now with technology and also with having my book out, there's a lot of people in that position who are like, well, this can't be all there is to it. And so I'm like, okay, well, so this is good. So people can find what they really want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the community is huge and the need is out there. And there's so many trainers just like you, just like us that just want to do good for the horse. And it doesn't matter, what discipline, what type of horse. We just want it to be a good experience for the horse, the rider.
Exactly. Yeah.
Promote that message, which.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Thank you so much. I better get myself on a horse here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We sure appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And then thank you everybody for joining in with us here today. We appreciate you for being here. And so we're going to say goodbye.
Okay. Good to see you guys. Thank you.
All right.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for riding along with us. If you're finding these conversations meaningful, leave us a quick review and help bring more of this work into the world. If you'd like to take it deeper, head on over to becauseofthehorse.net. Grab a ticket to our free online horse fair or check out our other learning paths and resources. Because of the Horse, I believe in better people, better horses, and a better world.